What's up, Porch Nation? Welcome back to Porch Nation headquarters here in Worcester, Massachusetts, where the streets are paved with gold in piles of frozen leaves. It was week 11 here in the Greatest League, and it was our biggest week of the season, even if the standings don't look much different. It was our last interdivisional week of the season as we draw closer and closer to the Great Tourney. Just 4 weeks left, including this one, and so many tight races for every division lead. And for many, that's the only ticket to the playoffs. With just a handful of teams above 500, the wild card race is short. It's basically a lock that one wild card team is coming from the North Division, and a fair to good chance that we've got one coming out of the East Division as well. So, to be one in the three-way tie of the South Division, you have a harder road getting to the playoffs as a wild card team than you do as a division winner. And that odd man out, Adam, is still just one game back of that bunch in the race as well. Well, anyway, we'll be getting our fill of playoff talk and divisional play soon enough. Let's see what this season's final North versus East and South versus West had in store. Week 11, 8 games, let's get into it. Well, week 11 was a week of great matchups and lots of underdog victories. There were a couple of us, 8 4-6 teams who faced off, which means a couple of us were destined to be 4-7 at the end of it. Josh Steinberg and I came in with tied records and a close projection. Unfortunately, I ruined the suspense by having only Gibbs beat his projection this week. Josh continues to put up good numbers and now finds himself in a 3-way tie for first in the South. The other 4-6 showdown did feature an exciting matchup. At week's end, Ross would have the highest cumulative score in the West, but has faced the third most points in the league. Adam came into this one in a 3-way tie for second place in the South. At the conclusion of Sunday afternoon's games, Adam had less than a 7-point lead. Well, as with Sunday night's dramatic finish, Ross's 2 Minnesota spots gave him enough to come from behind and take this one by over 11. Further into the quagmire of the South standings, Skinner faced one of the league's many 4-6 teams in the form of Alex this week. Skinner came into this week having lost 4 out of the last 5 and was holding on to first place in the South throughout. Alex needs this win to keep his tie with Ross and capitalize on Ethan's dramatic loss. More on that next. Well, this one burned bright and burned fast. With all their players done by afternoon's end, this close finish was down to a photo finish. Alex sneaks out a less than 5-point win over the now still tied for first place Skinner as he continues his campaign to defend his Super Bowl title. Our lowest combined score featured another 4-6 team this week in D. It's clearly been a down year for Jeff's squad. He came into this one on a 7-game losing streak. Well, this one would make it 8 as both teams missed their projections by about 8 or so. D keeps pace with the pack with this win. We had 8 4-6 teams coming into this week, and she's now one of 7 5-6 teams eyeing a 500 record with 3 games to go. Another big game featuring a 4-6 team, Andy faced off against the longtime first place holder in the West, Ethan. This one was another close one with playoff repercussions in spades. With Skinner's loss this week, Andy finds himself in a tie for first in the South and is one leg of a head-to-head tiebreaker nightmare triangle. Andy, Josh Steinberg, and Skinner are all 5-6 now. Skinner beat Andy, Andy beat Josh, Josh beat Skinner. The next tiebreaker down is divisional record, where Skinner gets the edge with a tied divisional record with Andy, but the head-to-head tiebreaker there. After the next 3 divisional games are over, this will almost certainly be much more simple. This loss for Ethan and Ross and Alex's victories this week makes the West a tighter race. We've got 3 big games ahead there. More 4-6 action as we move on to Joe versus the 6-4 Dylan. Dylan was one game back of first in the East and currently holds the 6th seed. Well, every position below quarterback on down to team defense missed projection for Dylan, and Joe does his part to make a mess of the wildcard race and the East Division standings. Kudos, sir. And moves to just one game sub 500 now. With Dylan's loss, Pete had a chance to leapfrog into second, the 6th seed, and stay one game out of first in the East. Steve's Week 9 loss to Skinner saw him slip to 2 games out of first in the North, but he's had a good grip on the 5th seed so far. Well, Steve came into play and smashed his projection. Pete nearly beat his projection by 20, but it wasn't enough to make this close. He stays tied with Dylan for now, and stays on the outside of the wild card run looking in, a half game back from Dylan. And now, our game of the week, it's here. We had a major showdown between division leaders to end interdivisional play in this year's regular season. Our current first and second seed placeholders, James Berger II and Josh Marshall. Josh came into this week with a 1-game lead in his division and 2 games behind Berger in the overall standings. Berg has enjoyed a little breathing room in his division, having had a 2-game lead now for a couple of weeks. Well, our league's top scorer through 11 weeks finally took his second loss. Josh takes this one by 4.25 points, and they even kept it interesting through the end of Sunday as they each had some Minnesota players. Josh now takes a 2-game lead in the East, and Berg's divisional lead is reduced back to 1. Who knows, maybe this head-to-head could factor into seeding in a few weeks. Time will tell. Now, a look at our playoff picture, and I assure you it is a different week.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Alright folks, that's week 11. We'll take a pause on interdivisional play until at least the playoffs as we move on to week 12 and the first of our 3-game in-division stretch. With multiple Thanksgiving and Black Friday games having already played, we're already well underway into the new week, and we have some absolutely pivotal head-to-heads going on. It's only going to get more exciting from here on out, and I can't wait to see how it all ends. Until next time, keep thriving, Porch Nation!